Welcome back, everybody, to the 423 Football Podcast. It is August 29th, 2017 today. It's been a little while since we've recorded our last show, a week to be exact. That's probably going to be our normal routine throughout the season, just a weekly show. We might throw in a few bonus shows in there along the way. But thank you for tuning in again, and hopefully you'll stick around with us. I'm your host, Brandon Bouchard, joined here again with Peyton Light.
Hey, how's it going?
Brett Hamilton.
Hello.
And we know Brett's a little under the weather today, so he might not be talking as much as usual, but we'll get through that. Obviously had a pretty fun weekend this past weekend, celebrating a birthday. Our own Brett Hamilton celebrating a birthday, 24 years old.
22, everyone.
I don't know about you, but you're not 22.
No. When I was 22, I listened to that song every single morning.
It's a great song.
That's what I woke up to.
That song sucks.
Unlike her new song, which is garbage. But
no,
let's talk about some football.
Let's talk football.
We'll get into our Taylor Swift rankings later.
Taylor Swift song rankings. But yeah, like Peyton said, we'll jump right on into the news. A lot happened over the weekend. A lot of injuries going down, shaping a lot of ranking changes. But just to lead it off, Julian Edleman out for the season, confirmed torn ACL.
It really makes Charles' third-round pick look horrible, even more horrible than it already was. But go on.
Yeah, it's a brutal blow for not only Charles but the Patriots as well. However, I think the Patriots are going to be. I think they're going to be fine.
Yeah,
they've had injuries like this in the past. Gronk's been out before.
Somebody just picks up the beat every single time. They never really have a detrimental loss to the team, unless it's Tom Brady, but even Matt Castle stepped in 2008 and did all right. So
yeah, but I do think it helps some of the receivers out. I think Gronk's going to be pretty much similar to what he was. I'm not moving him up that much. Brandon Cooks had him decently high to begin with, not moving him up that much, but I think it does help like the lower tier guys like Chris Hogan, Danny Amendola. One of those guys is going to step up, and Chris Hogan already in the preseason, this last game when Edelman went down, showed that he can go out there and score with the best of them.
Right.
Also, Spencer Ware, another one out for the season, PCL injury. Not as serious as the ACL, but still a big issue. Obviously, he's going to be out for the season. But the big storyline, Kareem Hunt coming in, he was already moving up boards to begin with, talking about him taking Spencer Ware's job. So now it's just Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
And it's Andy Reid's offense. He's going to be the bell cow running back for that team. And honestly, I think we'll talk about him a little later in our running back discussion. But I think he's going to move up rankings pretty far. Yeah,
I think he'll be just fine. And then coming in, we also have Cameron Meredith out for the season with the torn ACL. That's a reasonably good tight end. Pretty much
receiver.
Pretty much the only person on Chicago's team that seemed like they could catch a ball. So Chicago's looking like any player on the offensive side from Chicago is looking like a pretty rough pick at this point.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta, if you want to take a stab on someone late, might as well take a Bears receiver. I don't really have a favorite on who to pick right now, but someone's going to catch the ball in that offense. I don't know whether it's going to be Kevin White, Kendall Wright, Victor Cruz maybe, but
they'll be down pretty much all season, so they're going to have to throw the ball a lot.
It's going to be rough for the Bears offense, even worse than it already is. Also, we got Tyrod Taylor. He was dealing with a concussion. Talking about Nathan Peterman possibly starting week 1. That just something to look at. And we had Blake Bortles and Deshaun Kaiser, both named starters of their selected teams. Blake Bortles, I think we pretty much knew he was going to keep that job. They were just putting the Henne talks and Brandon Allen talks. They were just throwing that in there just for, just to scare Bortles basically into
trying harder and being a better quarterback, honestly. And then Deshaun, I told you in our very first podcast, I'm telling you, Cleveland, It's always going to be rookies, man.
And it's going to be nice for that offense. I think it's going to be, obviously it's not Brock Osweiler, that's, thank the Lord. But Kaiser can run the ball, and that's going to open up a lot, and well, not only run the ball, but throw the ball a mile, which is going to be good for the receivers. Corey Coleman, he's already shown a nice rapport with him, but I think it's going to help Crowell. It's going to open up the offense. If you're looking for a late-round quarterback, maybe in a two-team league or a 2 QB league or a dynasty league, I think Kaiser's a great pick because just like, I mean, Tyrod, he's similar to Tyrod in the fact that he doesn't really throw the ball that well, but the points he can get you on the ground are a nice bonus to what he's able to do.
Right.
Also in the news, coming in last night, Matthew Stafford signs 5-year deal, $135 million extension through 2020 or through 2022, making him the highest paid player ever.
Is it $50 million guaranteed?
I think it's like $85
Oh
million
my
guaranteed.
gosh.
It's obviously he's their guy. Granted, this is just the nature of NFL quarterbacks right now. It's just like a carousel. Who's going to be the next top paid guy? Obviously, in a few years, it's going to be not confusing, but odd in the fact that a lot of these quarterbacks aren't really worth that money. They're just, I mean, they're the focal point of a team. They're going to get paid the most money. It doesn't really make sense to me that much, but I don't know. Matthew Stafford, I think he has like a 5 and like 30 something record against winning teams with winning records, which is horrendous, but
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, that's another discussion. Moving on, Vance McDonald traded to the Steelers for a 4th round pick. Bit of a shocker, 4th round pick, giving up that for a tight end. You don't see that very often, but I think Vance could be much better than Jesse James, obviously, and I think he can be even better than Heath Miller. I just don't know how much that offense will use him.
I don't know. It could be that final piece for them to make a championship run.
True. And last year, obviously, they tried to go out and get a tight end in Ladarius Green. That obviously didn't work out, but they obviously have a desire to have a guy that you can trust at the tight end position. I think it's going to be pretty solid with Vance McDonald. I just don't know how much value he'll have in fantasy.
Right.
But also coming out, it's been going on for a while now. Ezekiel Elliott, his suspension appeal has been going on for the past couple days. It's apparently going to carry into Wednesday, tomorrow. Don't really know what's going to happen there. I've heard a lot of reports. Personally, I guess we all think it's going to get dropped down to 4 games. Actually, a report from Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. He's actually saying there's a very good chance that Zeke plays week 1, which that's just...
I don't believe that. I don't buy it.
That's kind of far-fetched. The league's trying to make a point with all this domestic violence stuff going on, and they have to suspend him at least a couple games. But I mean, if he does play week 1, just
watch out.
Yeah. Not only watch out, but all these people who drafted Zeke the past couple weeks, thinking he's suspended those couple games, they just got
the team's got infinitely
4
harder.
games of a free top tier running back.
Top tier. I mean, he could be the number 1 guy at the end of the year. But I mean, that just goes back to the saying you want to draft as late as possible because all this bull crap news coming through during the preseason, it can just affect your draft
and injuries.
Yeah, and injuries, as you can see with honestly,
people keep going down.
Yeah, the list goes on and on.
So let's jump into our second discussion, focused on running backs. If you all didn't tune into episode 4, check that out. We talked about the top 15, our top 15 consensus rankings. Today we're going to be talking 16 through 30, and we're going to get the conversation started off with Ty Montgomery coming into his 3rd year in the Packers. Brandon, what do you think? What do you like about Ty Montgomery this year?
Well, I mean, there's a lot to like, but there's a lot of questions to be had too. Obviously, he's still transitioning from a wide receiver to a running back. He's still learning the position. but he spent the whole offseason trying to develop himself as a premier running back. He's learning to pass block. He's bulked up. He actually is looking like the part of a running back. Obviously, he only started 6 games last year. They were still trying to figure things out. But he came on strong. Had 5.9 yards a carry. He was the number 1 ranked back when it comes to elusive rating. But I think he's going to get every opportunity to be the guy in Green Bay. It's just they're going to rely on him pass blocking, and I think if he can do that, he'll be on there or on the field for all 3 downs.
Right.
It's in a high-powered offense, so I mean that's something to look forward to.
Yeah, any running back, if you can find a starting running back in that high-profile offense with Aaron Rodgers throwing the ball, there's going to be touchdowns and points to be had. Yep. It's just, is Ty Montgomery going to be that guy? And I think he is. He's going to get the opportunities as long as he can stay healthy. I don't think Jamal Williams is going to sneak up and give him any trouble for any.
At least for the first half of the season. I mean, I don't know. I think Ty Montgomery's going to do really well. As Brett said, it's a high-powered offense, and they're going to be able to generate a lot of points. So
yeah. Moving on into our next running back, Mark Ingram. Speaking of another high-profile offense, team that scores a lot of points. I have Mark Ingram ranked significantly higher than you two guys. I don't see what all the hate is with Mark Ingram this year.
I mean, I don't think it's so much hate. I think he's a good running back. It's just, I mean, they go after Adrian Peterson, and then they also draft Alvin Kamara really high. It just makes you wonder, is there some sort of a reliability or durability issue? Or really, are they going to start splitting carries pretty heavily, you know? And
that was my biggest worry
yeah.
going into it. There's a lot of running backs on that team. It's not a run-centric team at all. I mean, it is another high-powered offense. They do score a lot of points. Their defense doesn't let the offense rest very often. So my biggest worry is, you know, they do have 3 that look pretty good. I mean, Adrian Peterson's older, obviously, but I think they went out and got him for a reason. So that's my only holdback on Mark Ingram.
Yeah. And I do see the points being made. They're bringing other guys in, but they've always had 3 running backs. Really, they've had. Even last year, they had Mark Ingram, Tim Hightower, and Travaris Cadet. They've always had like 2 of those more heavy-set guys who can run the ball, and then they have the pass catcher like Kamara is now. But, I mean, Mark's gone out there, and he's produced well even with those 3 backs. Last year, number 10 running back. In 2015 and 2014, he was number 15 overall. So I'm really not worried about Adrian Peterson at all. I think it's going to be Mark Ingram's role to
lose pretty much.
Yeah, and I don't see him losing it. Granted, both him and Adrian Peterson have had problems staying on the field. Mark Ingram's never played a full slate of 16 games in his career, but when he's out there, I mean, he's as good as most backs in the NFL. He's very consistent. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and like I said, it's a high-scoring offense.
Yeah, that's very true. And then, so after Mark, we've got Dalvin Cook. And, you know, personally, I'm not big on Dalvin Cook this year. The Vikings don't necessarily have the most prolific offense. And, I mean, I think he's an unbelievable talent, a great pickup for dynasty leagues. I have my concerns with him being on the Vikings is all. But what are your guys' thoughts on him?
I mean, I think the situation is good just in the fact that there's not many people that the Vikings seem to like over Dalvin Cook. Obviously, Latavius Murray is there, but I think he's going to be more maybe goal line back type of thing. Jerick McKinnon's really he's never impressed up to the standards of a premier NFL running back. But, I mean, the Vikings made an attempt to improve the offensive line. I think there's a good chance that Dalvin Cook could be the focal point of the offense. Their pass catchers, like I said, they got Stephon Diggs, they got Adam Thielen, they got Kyle Rudolph at the tight end position. But I see, especially even with passing downs, I see Dalvin being out there, and I see Sam Bradford maybe even dumping him off, and I could easily see Cook getting 60 receptions this year.
Yeah, I like what I've seen in the preseason as far as targeting Dalvin for the receptions. I think that's may be kind of alluding to how they want to use him going forward. And I just think he's a lot more talented than the two other backs that he's competing with. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, it's just a good situation for him to go into. Next, we'll talk about another rookie running back, Joe Mixon, coming in at number 19. Peyton, what do you think about Joe this year?
Well, I'm pretty high on Joe Mixon. I think also another great pick for Dynasty Leagues. He's a fantastic talent. He is potentially mired in the depth chart a little bit. I mean, you also have Jeremy Hill there, and Giovanni's had a pretty decent preseason-ish. So, but they're going to go younger in the long term, as most teams will, and I think Joe Mixon becomes that guy. I just don't know if he becomes a top 15 running back this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very risky pick, especially where he's going in drafts right now. I think the talent's there. It's just the opportunity. He obviously, like you said, is behind Jeremy Hill and Giovanni Bernard. But I see Mixon as, like I said, a risky pick. But I see him as he could be a potential Jordan Howard from last year, but even better. I mean, the sky's the limit once he gets the starting job. So moving on into our number 20 running back. But before we get into or get out of our top 20, I should say, we have to mention Kareem Hunt somewhere in here. So we've been moving things around, obviously, in our rankings. We don't really know exactly where we want Kareem Hunt slotted in right now, but I definitely think he's a top 20 running back. Again, Spencer Ware goes down. We talked about him a little in the news. And obviously, Kareem Hunt's ADP skyrocketed.
Yes.
It's going 6th round right now. It might have even moved into the 5th round. And again, like I said, it's just timing of when people are doing their drafts. If you're doing them right now, you're
lucky, honestly, if you're doing it. Well, honestly, if you picked Kareem Hunt previously in a really late round, you are the luckiest people.
Well, like I said, I mean, we did our draft in our main league, 3 weeks ago now?
Yes.
And I got Kareem Hunt in the 12th round. I mean,
and
that's
he's probably, a 6th, 7th round pick now?
He's getting in the 5th. And I think in a few other leagues I've seen going in the 4th. His ADP is just gone through the roof.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys, I don't know.
I think he's a solid pick, and they're going to use a running back pretty heavily in Kansas City's offense.
Yeah.
They do every year.
Yeah, and he's looked good. He's looked fantastic in the preseason. And obviously, like I said, again, Andy Reid likes the bell cow role. Spencer Ware, he was running back. I think he was in the top 15 last year, and he only played 14 games. And I think Kareem Hunt can easily jump into the top 15 this year.
I completely agree.
But like I said, jumping right back into our actual rankings, I should say, coming in at number 20, we have Christian McCaffrey. Peyton, you have him a few spots higher than Brett and I. We both have him at 20, which I still don't like having him that high. I think he should be even lower. But what do you think about Christian McCaffrey this year?
Honestly, I was really low on Christian McCaffrey previously. I still am a little bit nervous about the pick, but he's had a great preseason. He in his first 3 preseason games, he's averaged 5.1 yards per carry. He's had a few kind of splash plays here and there, and I think they're really going to try and get him the ball. I didn't think Carolina would try to implement him as heavily, but they have not skipped a beat. They keep giving him the ball. So you might, probably a later pick than what we have him right now. But I think that he could give you a few points here and there.
Yeah, and again, he's a rookie. We haven't seen what he can do at the NFL level. It's a risky pick. It's just like, what are we seeing right now? 4 or 5 rookies drafted in the top 20 at running back.
Right.
It's honestly getting kind of out of hand. But the guys are going to get snaps. They're going to get touches. I just don't like... I like being safe with my picks, usually in the early rounds. And Christian McCaffrey, I'm still honestly cooling on because Jonathan Stewart's not going anywhere. He's looked good in the past couple games. And again, the team just doesn't throw to the running backs. They just only 19 running back receptions last year.
Yeah.
19. That's as a total.
That's why I didn't think that they would implement him this way, but I don't know. We could be completely wrong. They might.
And again, like I said, all these rookies coming in. If we could go on and on, but if you want more in depth talk about our running backs, you can go back to episode 1 we had, and we talk all kinds of rookies in that episode.
Yeah. So now shifting into our next pick, 21st, we've got C.J. Anderson. I'm particularly not a huge fan of the Broncos this year, so that's why I'm kind of low on him, I guess. But
just as a team as a whole.
Yeah, I just don't feel it. But that's just a gut thing. But you also have Jamal Charles on the team, and we have seen his potential in previous years. Lord knows how he will be after all of his injuries. But, if he is able to get back to his old ways, then I think he definitely surpasses C.J. Anderson.
I don't know about that.
I'm saying that's a big if.
Yeah, I really don't think that Jamal Charles is going to have that much of an impact on C.J. Anderson's role. Granted, this has got to be, honestly, the most injury-prone backfield in the NFL right now. Devontae Booker is already hurt. We know Jamal Charles' history with his knees. C.J. Anderson, again, he was hurt again last year, only played 7 games. But in those 7 games, through week 7, he was the running back 10 in fantasy. So I think he's got
a good ceiling.
Yeah, he's safe if
he stays healthy.
Yeah, if he stays healthy. And again, a lot of these guys have injury risk. But C.J. Anderson, he's only 2 years removed from being the RB11, and that was, I believe, his second year when he came in, and he only started 7 games that year.
Yeah. So I think who do we got next, Brett? It's
we have Mike Gillislee coming in at number 22. He's been dealing with an injury in the offseason, just got started playing. I think we featured that in our news. I think it was about 1 episode ago. Brandon, what do you see about Mike Gillislee this year?
Honestly, I think, he's going to be the number 1 guy in New England on some weeks.
Yeah,
I really don't like to have.
I don't like
Patriots
a single.
running backs.
No, I don't like a single one of them, except maybe LeGarrette last year, but none of them.
But even LeGarrette last year, you couldn't trust him on. He had 18 touchdowns, but you couldn't trust him week to week. Mike Gillislee is going to go out there one week. He's going to score 2 or 3 touchdowns. He's going to win you your week. Same with Burkhead. Same with maybe Deion Lewis and James White. You just don't know which guy it's going to be when it comes to the Patriots' backfield. But I do think Gillislee has the highest upside when it comes to touchdowns.
Yes.
I think he's going to be their goal line guy. I definitely don't see 18 touchdowns coming like Blunt had last year. I don't like him just for the fact that you don't know what's going to happen week in and week out. But, Gillislee, at the end of the year, it's going to look fine. He might be a top 10, 15 running back. But week to week, he's going to hurt your team because if he doesn't show up one week, you're going to lose, and fantasy football is it's a weekly game. All right, moving on into our next running back, we got Bilal Powell coming in. Running back number 15 last year. He was actually the number 10 running back overall from week 8 on. Obviously, he's had Forte on the team. Forte was doing very well to start the season. Forte actually, rumor that he's going on the trade block right now. So I don't.
You said what?
Yeah, I don't see Forte leaving really, but if he does, Bilal Powell. Say what you will about the Jets right now, it's not looking good in any form or fashion. But Powell is the only somewhat shining hope for the Jets this year, and again, he can catch the ball in the backfield, which always great for a running back, especially in if you're looking at a PPR league. He had 74 targets last year. And again, like I said, only positive sign for the Jets so far this offseason.
Yeah, unless if Forte stays with the team, I don't like Bilal as much. I just think they're going to do more of a split carry. Forte is he's too good, And, I mean, you're still paying him, so you might as well have him on the field. So, I don't know. That's just my thought. But shifting into number 24, we've got Frank Gore, Mr. literally as old as you can get. So
Old man Gore.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, Gore is a boulder. I mean, he's old, but he can run really hard. If you look at his stats, he's pretty much a 1,000-yard rusher every year. But if you look at his touchdowns in about the past 3 years, they've dropped pretty significantly. And I don't know. I mean, if the Colts can generate some pretty good offense this year, I really like Frank Gore. But
I think it all comes down to whether Luck is healthy. Because if Luck's not out there, it's going to hurt everyone on that team. The fantasy value on that team would drop significantly. Like Scott Tolzien's not going to go out there and throw bombs to T.Y. Hilton and open up the offense, which is what keeps Frank Gore alive. But, I mean, if Luck is out there, I know people are hating on Gore. They're saying he's going to fall off at some point. But, I mean, he's an ageless wonder right now. Yes. 11 straight years as a top 20 running back. Hasn't missed a start in 5 years. He's the guy in Indianapolis and he's going to have value as long as Luck is out there. I really don't see Robert Turbin and Marlon Mack sneaking up unless something, again, happens to Frank Gore or Luck's out for a significant amount of time and the Colts have to start moving things around.
Yeah.
It's a much safer pick, especially if you have a couple of teams or a couple of players that you drafted early on that are a little higher on the risk. Frank Gore may be a little bit later round to pick up as a more consistent running back option. So number 25, we've got Doug Martin. Obviously, he's going to be suspended first 4 games of the season. That's what. Without the suspension, I'd put him a lot higher. But what do you think that Doug's going to do this year, Peyton?
Well, okay. I mean, I think Doug's a fantastic running back, but if you look at him from year to year, he has only played 2 16-game seasons. Obviously, he's going to be out for a few weeks due to suspension, but you also need to look from a consistency standpoint. He is all over the place. He could have 90 yards per game on average for a season, and he's been all the way as low as 44. So, that's the reason I'm a little concerned about Doug Martin, but I think that they have a really high-powered offense. If he starts playing and playing well, I mean, he's a threat all year long to me.
Yeah, Brandon drafted him in our league, so what do you see out of him this year?
I absolutely love Doug Martin this year. I can't remember exactly where I took him in our draft. I know it was a little later than what his ADP is right now.
Yep.
Obviously, the talks are going up, talking Doug up, but I see the fact that he's going, even now, he's going in the back of the 4th round, and I truly believe that he's pretty much the only guy that you can get that late who has potential to be a top 5 running back. He's done it before. He was running back number 3 in 2015. It's just, again, can he stay healthy? And then after the suspension, can he solidify his role again? That being said, if you're going to draft Doug Martin, not a bad idea to go get Jacquizz Rodgers. Same with Zeke and McFadden. That whole thing. Jacquizz is going to be the starter for 3 weeks. He can go out there and
put together some average and decent games.
Yeah,
he's done well. Yeah,
yeah. But I mean, Doug Martin, I got nothing but love for the guy. I think he's a great NFL running back, and once he's back, I think it's just wheels up. He's gonna do great things once again.
The muscle hamster will return.
Hey, he doesn't like that nickname.
I'm sorry, Doug.
Moving on, we got Tevin Coleman coming in next. We all have him pretty closely ranked, but honestly, I think from a fantasy standpoint, unless you're talking PPR or Devonta Freeman getting hurt, I don't really want to touch Tevin Coleman at all. He was a number 18 running back last year. Had 11 touchdowns. There's no way he's getting 11 touchdowns again. There's going to be regression coming from Coleman. But
he's a good back. It's just they paid big money for Devontae, and that really lowers their I guess, thoughts on using Tevin pretty heavily in this offense as they kind of did last year.
Yeah, but this offense, they can support 2 running backs. That's the good thing. I think Tevin's going to rely on touchdowns somewhat. Again, but 11 touchdowns. There's no way you're not going to sustain that as a running back, especially as a backup running back.
Yeah.
But if something was ever to happen to Devonta Freeman, Tevin Coleman,
his value's through the roof.
Oh yeah, he could be a top 5 guy. It's only been 2-3 years that Tevin Coleman won that job in training camp, and then Coleman went down, and obviously Freeman took off. Yeah. But Coleman is just as good of a running back as Devonta Freeman.
Yeah. Shifting into 27, we've got Eddie Lacy, and let me just be honest.
Eddie Lacy.
Too fat. No.
Hey, he is looking.
He's slimmed down, but that backfield has way too many bodies. You got Thomas Rawls, you got CJ Prosise, and honestly, all preseason, you've got Chris Carson, the rookie. He's
looking good.
Yeah, he's looking like a threat to get some carries. So I trust no one in the Seahawks backfield because they'll all play.
Yeah, I'm treating the Seahawks backfield as like the Patriots backfield. Obviously, I think the Patriots backfield is going to be a little more high scoring and high profile, but it's just there's too many guys, too many mouths to feed. You don't know who's going to get the carries every week.
If you have somebody go down though, a week 2 or 3 pickup of any one of these guys, you got a 25% chance of it being gold because they're going to use a running back. It's just a matter of which one.
And I will say, he looked good in this last preseason game. We got a small glimpse of him. 4 carries, 21 yards. Not bad. He's still big body Eddie. Not as fat as he was, obviously.
Right.
But, he can still bowl over people. And he has a history. He can do it. His first 2 years in Green Bay, he was a top 6 fantasy running back. 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns one year. 1,500 yards and 13 touchdowns the next. The guy can be the feature back. And a lot of people don't. They look at Eddie, see this big boulder of a guy, and think he can't catch the ball. But, he's got 101 receptions in 51 games. So if the Seahawks if people are saying, Prosise is going to be their third down guy, he's going to catch the ball, Eddie can go out there and catch the ball
just as well.
Just as well.
So the next would be Amir Abdullah, number 28.
Abdullah Oblongata.
Abdullah Oblongata. 2016, we only saw him for 2 games, so not a huge sample size. It's only his 3rd year in the league. I don't know. It's a pass first offense, and that scares me about drafting him. We've got Theo Riddick there. Amir Abdullah is the early down back, but I'm just afraid that it's just going to be such a pass-heavy offense that he's just not going to see a whole lot of touchdowns.
I agree with that, and the fact that, again, he can't seem to stay healthy. Yeah. He's got the potential if he can. The Lions seem to want a guy who can slow the offense down and be a workhorse back. I don't see Amir Abdullah really being that. I do think there's potential for him to be solid when it comes to yardage. Maybe not so much of a touchdown guy. They've never really had a high touchdown guy when it comes to the running back position. And again, like you said, Theo Riddick's going to take the third down work away from Abdullah, and maybe even more. They seem to like Theo Riddick quite a bit. Moving on into speaking of Theo Riddick and pass catchers, coming in at 29, we got Danny Woodhead. Danny Woodhead, I think it can be something special, especially in PPR. He's obviously going to be the third down guy. He's not going to be the feature back, but he's coming off an ACL injury, coming to a new team. Ravens seem to throw the ball to the running back a ton. In 2015, if you're saying, even though he's not a feature back, he can't really do that much, he was running back 11 in standard in 2015. But aside from, I'll go ahead. Well, I'll just say, I'll let you guys. Any comments on Danny Woodhead? Because I'm about to go on a rant here.
I personally, if it were my pick, I would never take Danny Woodhead. It's just too unreliable.
If it's PPR, I am all go for Mr. Woodhead though.
Brandon is all gopher.
Yeah, well, we play in a standard league, so I'm just not about Danny Woodhead. I never have been, honestly. I don't know what it is, but I'm just not.
I mean, I like the guy. I like the talent. I like what he does for an offense, but it is a crime that Danny Woodhead is going in front of Terrence West right now. Terrence West is the clear starter. He was running back 23 last year with only 193 carries, so under 200 carries. These guys, I mean, I think Woodhead and West right now are back-to-back in ADP, which in a PPR, yeah, I'm going for Woodhead. That's I mean, we stated that before. But Terrence West he's the feature back for the Ravens. He's going to get first and second down. And if Woodhead goes down, it's going to be West all the way. I don't see why people are drafting Danny Woodhead over Terrence West right now. It makes no sense to me. Danny Woodhead, even now, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. He's never been the healthiest guy. It's West's job. I don't see it. I just don't understand.
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
But, since I literally just don't like Danny Woodhead at all, we're going to go ahead and shift into our 30th running back.
Who I don't like at all.
Also, not a big fan of this pick either this year is LeGarrette Blount. It has not looked good this preseason for LeGarrette Blount. He's not going to recreate what he did in New England whatsoever.
Anyone out there can just forget everything he did last year. It's a clean slate.
LeGarrette Blount, I'm sorry, but not a good pick for me or anyone this year.
No, and aside from last year, he's never had more than 7 touchdowns. So I'm not expecting double-digit touchdowns at all. And again, the Eagles' offense doesn't fit what Blount does.
No,
they're trying to run stretch plays. They're trying to run fast. They're trying to do dump offs to to their running backs, and it doesn't make sense. You saw when DeMarco Murray was there, they tried to run a similar offense, and I think it's going to be the same way. DeMarco crashed and burned in Philadelphia, and I see the same thing going with LeGarrette Blount. And again, you have Wendell Smallwood and Darren Sproles and Donnell Pumphrey coming, or they're all guys that are competing for snaps. Sproles is probably going to get third down work. Wendell Smallwood, there's even talks about him possibly getting the starting job, and Blount being cut. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, someone would pick him up anyways.
But I mean, Blount. I just don't think Blount's a very good running back. If you're looking at last year and saying, just looking at his stats and being like, oh wow, this guy he's something special. He was in a Patriots offense that they're scoring 30, 40 points a game.
Yeah.
He's going to get the goal line work. No one else could do it on that team.
And they're ahead the whole game.
Exactly.
They're going to have to run the ball.
Yeah.
So
exactly. I don't like Blount at all. He's never really been a good back to own, in my opinion.
No. So now shifting in, we're going to talk about flag running backs. It's a guy you might reach for, maybe a couple of rounds. I'm personally this year really big on Todd Gurley. I know we had him he was our 10th pick, but I got him in the 3rd round, luckily. But I just think he's a really strong guy coming into this year. I think the Rams offense is really going to pick it up. Jared Goff's going to be able to throw to a couple more guys. I just think I'm big on Todd Gurley. What about you, Brandon?
My guys, I've been going back and forth between about 3 guys right now, but I'm going to have to go with Mark Ingram. Again, we talked about him previously. He's being drafted behind Adrian Peterson. I don't get it. No. Adrian Peterson, he's again never really that healthy of a guy. He's on the high he's high for his age when it comes to running backs.
He just had a few electric seasons, and he's fallen off in the last couple. He's just
I think he's going to pick up that Tim Hightower role. Which Tim Hightower, I mean, he was relevant in fantasy last year, but he wasn't. Why are people drafting him, Adrian Peterson, above Mark Ingram? It makes no sense to me. Mark Ingram was a top 10 running back last year. I don't understand. It makes no sense. Go out and get Mark Ingram, especially if someone drafts Adrian Peterson before Mark Ingram's off the board, you go and make sure you get Mark Ingram because that value, you can't beat it.
Yeah, I don't see him playing as much. And he's a first and second down back. They're not going to put him in on third downs, in my personal opinion. They're going to go with Alvin Kamara, but, we'll talk about that in a minute.
My flag running back is going to be Doug Martin. He's currently his ADP is around the end of the 5th round. I think that's incredibly low for a player that has so much upside potential. We already talked about he has to sit out 4 games because of the suspension, but I still think the Buccaneers are committed to running the ball with him. I think Jameis is going to be in less positions to take risky passes this year. I think they're going to be more committed to the run game. It's still a defense-oriented team. I just think, based on his ADP right now, he's going way too low, and that would be my flag running back this year.
I definitely agree. And like I said before, when we were getting our running back rankings discussion, there's no other player you can draft that late and have the upside of a top 5 running back. It's just incredible value if that comes through.
I don't know. Doug Martin, I think, has a lot of value this season. I think he's really going to pick it up. Probably, you all made some really good points, and you've got me on the train now. But
that's how convincing we are.
Yeah, exactly. So
jump on board. There's plenty of room.
Oh my gosh! So shifting into the running backs that we need to avoid coming into this year, my pick, I'm going Eddie Lacy. I just think, like I said earlier, Seahawks backfield, there's too many bodies, and I just need Eddie Lacy to prove something to me before I go out and pick him.
Yeah, I agree with that. Same with again, like we said, with the New England backfield, it's just a mess, or not a mess, but unreliable, or inconsistent each and every week. But guy, I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole. Heck, make it a 30-foot pole. LeGarrette Blount, again, we just mentioned him. I won't ramble too much, but I don't think he's a good running back. The situation's not good. They don't seem to really be liking him that much right now, and he's definitely not going to repeat what he did last year by any means.
Whoa! Before you talk, Brett, take a step back. We got our dollar bet here. Does LeGarrette Blount get 5 touchdowns over under this year?
5?
5.
He has to play if he are we saying if he play say minimum 10 games?
Yeah, minimum 10 games. Does he get 5 touchdowns?
If he plays 10 games, he gets more than 5 touchdowns.
What about you, Brett?
I'm gonna have to say I'm gonna have to say over 5 touchdowns, but most of those will come from the goal line.
Oh, they'll all
they'll all be goal line.
Yeah.
But I'm going under, and I'll be expecting my $2 at the end of the season. So who do you got, Brett?
Running backs that I would not touch with a 10-foot pole. I've been saying this for about 3 years now. C.J. Anderson. I do not like C.J. Anderson.
Amen.
He's just making me cry.
I mean, Brandon knows how I feel about him. It's just, when I look at his stats, it's just blah. That's all I feel. It's like nothing is convincing. I mean, I guess he consistently gets a handful of touchdowns. He doesn't have the yards. He doesn't catch the ball ever.
I mean, what you can say is he's unreliable due to injury. When he's out there, I mean, I don't see anything wrong with C.J. Anderson.
Well, I mean, he played 15 games in 2015, and he had 720 yards. I mean, he wasn't even targeted that much. I mean, I don't know. He's just he'd have to have a kind of his best year ever for me to really be convinced of his value.
I can understand that. I mean, I feel the same way. Brandon may not, but it is what it is. But now we're going to shift into the late round running backs. So, Brandon, who wants to lead? Brandon, you want to lead it off?
Yeah, and late round guys, they're just guys not that we've really mentioned right now, but later round. I'm going with Rex Burkhead. I know I've been saying things about getting rid of or staying away from the New England backfield, but I think Rex Burkhead going in the 11th round right now, especially in PPR, he's got something going with Brady right now, and there's always like a pass-catching running back that has value on that team. I don't think Gillislee is going to be that relevant. He's had some nice runs in the preseason and everything, but I do think there's a value to be had when it comes to Burkhead.
Okay, well, I'm going to shift into mine, and I was going to go with Alvin Kamara, but I don't want to beat a dead horse. I've talked about him too much. You all know how I feel. That would be my go-to pick, but we'll shift into, a secondary pick. I really am having a tough time narrowing it down between Marlon Mack and James Conner, and I just can't figure it out because I think if Frank Gore starts to fade, even though he is the ageless wonder, Marlon Mack, to me, is going to be their guy for the future. Now, on the other hand, you also have the Steelers, and Le'Veon's been kind of a little punk this year so far. So
he won't get paid.
there's a lot of potential there too. So who do you think? What would you say, guys?
I think for this year, definitely lean towards Mack. I think obviously Gore could fall off at any moment.
Good, because I drafted him. So keep going, going.
Mack could sneak in and get third down work, and even if he does take over the starting role for the Colts, he's shown that he can run through the tackles. I do have a little bit of a worry from Robert Turbin, but again, these are late round guys that we're targeting. Now, if I was going to take a stab at a guy in a dynasty league, James Conner all the way.
Yeah,
I truly believe Le'Veon's going to move on.
Yep.
In the next year. He doesn't want to be there. It doesn't seem like they want to pay him. James Conner is basically free for the Steelers for the next couple years, and I think he's a very solid back, especially in that Pittsburgh offense.
Right.
Just not this year.
No.
Yeah.
So, just you want to close this out, Brandon?
Yeah, that'll be our show for today. Obviously, you'll probably hear throughout this show. We're sorry for the technical difficulties. But thanks for listening again. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at the423football. Like us on Facebook. Subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, and YouTube. Give us a like, leave a comment, leave reviews, and most of all, don't be stingy. Share us with your friends, family, coworkers, one-night stands.
Yeah.
Basically, anyone you encounter. Thanks for listening. We are the 423 Football Podcast.